The odds of life starting by chance were computed by a Yale mathematician over 60 years ago, and he computed it. Suppose you picked exactly the right atom out of the entire universe, and then you did that a billion times in a row. So it's not very likely. It's just the greatest discovery in science is biology is DNA. We've all heard of DNA, and it's digital code.
Welcome to the Etheria Techcast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today we are joined by Doug L., an author and thinker with a remarkable background. He's an MIT graduate in math and physics, a former atheist, and a prominent attorney who has spent over 30 years on a deeply personal quest, reconciling science and faith. He came to believe in God, not in spite of the evidence, but because of it. Using the same analytical rigor he applied in his legal and scientific careers. In this episode, we'll explore the evidence that changed his mind and discuss the relationship between scientific discovery and spiritual inquiry. So, Doug, welcome to the show.
Thank
It's an
you.
honor to have
Thanks
you
for
here,
having
sir.
me. Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm totally excited to have you and eager to get things started. So, quickly, sir, let's dive in. Your journey is a profound intellectual shift from an MIT trained physicist and mathematician who was an atheist to becoming someone who found faith through science. So, what was the first piece of evidence or line of reasoning that began to crack the foundation of your atheism?
Great question. I think when you look closely at life, really look closely, look how it works. You cannot be, you have to be overwhelmed by the incredible design. And as a former mathematician, there's just no way to get the design of life by chance. Okay. So, things like, and so it's kind of a mathematical, which I know is a weird way to come to faith. But I was resisting God, I think, for a lot of my life. I sort of bought into this nonsense that science is against God, or maybe another nonsense is smart people don't believe in God, all rubbish. But that's where I was. And my wife dragged me to church and I felt something there. So I decided I would check it out. But to get back to your question, I think it's the design, the odds. The odds of life starting by chance were computed by a Yale mathematician over 60 years ago. And he computed it as, suppose you picked exactly the right atom out of the entire universe, and then you did that a billion times in a row. Okay. So it's not very likely, but there's just the greatest discovery in science is biology, Ezekiel, is DNA. Okay. We've all heard of, DNA, and it's digital code. Digital code sounds like a fancy word, but as you know, it just means code that has discrete groups or letters, whether they're digits or they can be letters. Writing is digital code. Computers use digital code. You and I are talking right now on millions and millions of bits of code going back and forth between our computers. And what we found is that life runs digital code, and it's called DNA, and it's incredibly small. It's made out of groups of atoms. The code is. There is all this incredible machinery, read the code, to copy the code, to access parts of the code, far beyond human technology. So far beyond human technology, we don't recognize life as technology, but now we know it runs on code. Think about code. Do you have a smartphone, I assume?
Yeah. Sure.
So your smartphone's got apps, right? And
Yeah.
so if you want your phone to do something, to do something new, excuse me, you download a new app, okay? But it's all code. You know that. You want to get
Yeah.
your smartphone to do something, you've got to have code. Well, life works the same way. And different species have different kinds of code, different apps. Sometimes the apps look the same, uh, but it's all code, and it couldn't have come about by chance. So if you ask me what was the turning point, it was the realization that life could not have come about or be as fantastic as it is by chance.
Mm. So you said you use the same analytical rigor from your legal career to sift through scientific and philosophical arguments. So can you walk us through that process? Like, how do you apply a burden of proof or standard of evidence to a concept as vast as the existence of God?
Sure. It's not really all that complicated. Science is just figuring things out. And when you try to figure things out, you reason to the best explanation. So, what's the best explanation is the question. That's the
Mm,
fundamental question that any good thinker, whether a lawyer or scientist, has got to ask when it comes to what's the best explanation for. And when you do that on a bunch of areas, you find that the evidence strongly points to God. Now, I just gave you two areas before, very related. One, how did life get started? When you look at that, there is no glimmer of an atheist explanation for the origin of life.
mm,
Well, I mean, they don't know. Harvard University had a big study to try to figure it out, and they gave up. Okay, and I was at a couple years ago. I was up there at their faculty club for a dinner, and they were debating it. And but they have no clue how life could have got started by chance. Atheists just believe it because they have no other way. Another thing is, how did all this technology get? How does life get so complicated? How do you look at it? What's the best explanation? So, are you familiar with what's called Darwin's theory of evolution, Ezekiel?
yeah.
So that's the theory. Very briefly, is that uh, nature can design stuff. So you look at something that works perfectly, and you say, and this is what Darwin did, that well, there must have been lots of different types of that, and nature picked the best one. Survival of the fittest is the phrase, which, when you examine it, only means that the ones that survive are the ones most likely to survive. It's what we call in English a tautology. It means nothing. The only explanation for the technology of life is a designer. In my books, I clobber that. I've got a new book. Well, I say new. It's over a year old now. It's called The God Proofs, and it's a graphic novel. If I could show it, and it's designed for young adults, and a lot of adults like it too. But I just clobber this nonsense that things can get better through some sort of unguided process. Then And that gets into a little bit of mathematics, but very easy mathematics. But let's keep looking for the best explanation, if I may, in other areas. So what is the best explanation for why anything exists? Okay, what's the best explanation? We're in this universe, and what's the best explanation for why it exists? Well, there's no real explanation without God for that either. There's this thing called the Big Bang Theory, but
Yeah.
uh, which is just a loose phrase for a bunch of theories that really don't explain how it got started. They basically all say, well, there was something we don't understand, call it a miracle, call it a singularity. That's their fancy word, meaning we don't know what it was. Somehow the universe got started. Well, what's the best explanation for that? when you look at the laws of physics and how they're put together and constants of physics are like how fast is light, the speed of light, uh, how strong is gravity, how what's the mass of the proton to the mass of the electron, and there's dozens and dozens of these constants, Ezekiel, and it is accepted even by atheists that all of these constants are fantastically fine-tuned to allow life. So not only do we live in a universe that was created, we live in a universe that was designed. I think
Mm.
that's pretty mind-boggling. There's really no dispute on that. Again, atheists just got to say, well, maybe there's lots of universes and we got lucky. Well, that's not a scientific idea. How do how do you change the laws of physics from one universe to another? I mean, there's no explanation for that. Uh, I could go on, but when you look at what's the best explanation from a strictly logical point of view, which is what lawyers do, and I think we all kind of do to try to figure things out. To me, it's clear that God is the explanation.
Wow. Wow, that's a fantastic response there. So, Doug, you've tackled Darwin's theory of evolution. So, from your perspective, what does the theory explain brilliantly, and where does it, in your view, fall short as a complete explanation of the origin and complexity of life?
Well, great question. First of all, Darwin's theory cannot possibly explain the origin of life. Darwin's theory says once life got started, here's how it got better. But
Mm,
you can't have natural selection until you already have life. You can't, chemicals, that are not alive can't select. Uh, so they can't, if they don't reproduce, they can't select. So, first of all, Darwin's theory's got nothing at all to do with the origin of life. Um, Second of all, Darwin's theory, uh, no one's ever observed new evolution working as Darwin proposed it. When he proposed it, nobody knew that life runs on digital code. Nobody knew. He did his theory 100 years almost before DNA was discovered. So now we got this fantastic code in us. Where did that come from? Um, they've done experiments on bacteria in a lab where they tried to see if the bacteria would evolve, and it's called the Lenski experiment, Lenski, and they've had at least 60, maybe 70,000 generations of these bacteria, and the bacteria are going downhill.
mm,
Okay, they're getting worse because they stir food in the tubes. A lot of them can't swim anymore; they're fat. They lost the ability to swim. When you look at how, from a mathematical sense, evolution works, uh, it's all downhill. When the copying errors in our DNA add up, it's like typos in a book,
mm.
uh, and it's called genetic meltdown in some species. If there's not enough members left, uh, they don't have enough diversity. I think all like evolution works the opposite way of what Darwin said it was going to do. Uh, and sometimes it might have a good effect, but it can't explain any new species. To me, it's clear God built the technology in to create new species. It can't explain it can't explain technology, and that's pretty clear from a mathematical sense. But I mean, there are islands where the beetles don't have wings. Okay, where it's very windy. So the beetles that were born without wings survived because they didn't get blown away. I mean, that's the sort of thing Darwin can do. If there's some sort of mistake or something that helps, uh, you can explain why the beetles on that island don't have wings, but you can't explain how the beetles on the other island got the wings because that's way
Mm.
too complicated. Um, excuse me. Suppose you have a book and you start adding typos, and you keep doing that. I mean, common sense is that the book is going to get worse. The book of human DNA is about 3.2 billion letters of digital code. So that's like at least 1,000 very thick books piled on top of each other. And uh, the errors are mounting up. It may be why we have more dementia than we used to. We have more cancer, autism. I don't know, but I think the errors in our DNA are adding up. The point is, and this concept is called genetic entropy, that we are going, and all species are going downhill, not up.
All right. So the question, who created God, is often posed as a conversation ender. So, how do you address this infinite regress problem from a logical and philosophical standpoint?
Let me address that question. That's a great question. So, we know from Einstein that space and time and matter are connected. Okay. So, you can't have one without the other two, is the bottom line.
Mm,
Uh, and so, when God created the universe, he didn't just create matter and he didn't just create space to put it in, but he created time. Now, think about that. How would you create time if you were starting off? Who knows? God is outside of time. God is in a place where our normal, we think, this thing caused that thing. We have these sequences in our mind,
mm,
but there was no time before the universe was created. God is outside of time. I think of it as we're like fish in a fishbowl in a way. And maybe worse. Imagine a goldfish or what, a small fish in a fishbowl. Can't really see if anything, if at all, outside the fishbowl. Maybe some light, maybe something. Um, we cannot see outside of our universe. We are fish in the fishbowl of our universe. We, God is outside of time. He is the uncaused existence, the uncaused being. When are you familiar with in the Bible? Uh, Moses encounters the burning bush, God on the mountain,
yeah, yeah.
and Moses and at one point Moses says, God says, "Go back to your people. Tell Pharaoh to let him go." And Moses says, "Who shall I say sent me?" And God says, "Tell them I am sent you." God is saying, "I'm existence. Everything exists because of me." Uh, God started time. He doesn't dwell in time. He started time. And so it's pretty weird, maybe, this concept that there's something outside of time, right? That maybe, but there is a scientific experiment that agrees with that. It's, if I could just get a little technical, not too bad. You can look it up. It's called quantum entanglement.
Hmm. Think I
And the
heard about
experiment,
that before.
have you heard of it?
Yeah, but I really can't phantom what it means at the moment when you recall it right now. So
Let me
yeah,
try
you
to
may.
explain. Scientists take two subatomic particles like atoms, or they could even be groups of atoms, and they make them exactly alike. Don't ask
Mm,
me to explain technical details, but we don't need the technical details. They make them exactly alike in all these subatomic quantum physics ways. And then they take the particles and they separate them. So they entangle, in a physics sense, the particles. They're identical. Then they separate them. When you change one of the particles, the other is immediately effective.
Mm.
And it's not like the signal travels from the first one and tells the second one. It's instantaneous. It's fat. There's no time gap whatsoever, not even the speed of light to go through between the particles. They are connected out, and according to Einstein, nothing in this universe can go faster than the speed of light. These particles are connected outside of our universe. And it's a mind-blowing concept, I know, but you can look it up. Quantum entanglement proves that particles can be connected outside the universe. So there's plenty of room out there for God. Why does our universe have to be everything? It's everything we can sense, but that doesn't mean everything that exists. And God is outside of time. I hope that answers your question. So nobody created God. We don't know what's outside our fishbowl, but we do know there is a God who created it and designed it, created life and designed us.
Wow, that's a really, really, really amazing response, dear sir. So I like to ask, for the skeptical STEM professional listening who values empirical data above all, so what is one tangible, observable phenomenon in nature that you believe points most strongly towards a creator, and why?
I'm going to say the existence that life runs on digital code. Go back to the DNA. How do you get digital code? How do you have a system where information passes without someone designing it? You have to have a system to store the information, to copy it, to read it. How do you get all of that without a designer? You can't. And so if you ask me for one bit of one scientific fact, this is something we've known now, uh, for 75 years or so. The fact that life runs on digital code, it's undeniable. And not only is it digital code, but it is digital code that is so complex, we don't understand how it works. There was a project called the ENCODE project to figure out human DNA, 400 plus scientists working around the world, published, I think it was 2011, 2012, they published 30 major papers worldwide. Okay. They said, first of all, as far as we can tell, it looks like the code's going to be all fully functional. It's not junk here and there. Okay. It seems to be all working. We just don't understand what a lot of it does.
Mm.
And second of all, they said the code contains at least 2 layers of information. So you have code within code. Now, how can you say that if you're going to be rational about it, if you're going to be logical? How can you say that that fact does not point to a designer, a master designer?
Okay, so moving forward, in your work, which is all about using the tools of science and reason to explore the deepest questions of existence, what does the word innovation truly mean to you?
Innovation,
Yeah,
new, doing something a new way, maybe thinking outside the box is an expression. That's what I would say. It means doing something new, being creative.
awesome. So finally, Doug, for our listeners who are intrigued and want to explore your arguments in more depth. So, where is the best place for them to go find your book, your lectures, or generally just connect with you personally to get to know more about you, your work, and
Sure.
your belief?
No, thanks. Well, if you want to see, when I wrote my first book, I gave a talk at MIT, and that's on YouTube. So if you put Doug L. MIT. L is spelled ELL, just 3 letters. Doug L. MIT in YouTube. You'll come up with the video of my hour-long presentation to the MIT professors. As far as my books, I've got 4 now. This, The God Proofs is, it's on, all my books are on Amazon and other places. I've got I wrote a novel called Rise Above about a rich man who gets cancer and starts looking at the science for God. I have a website. It's called countingtogod.com, but I'm having some technical difficulties right now, and it won't be working probably for the next few days. So, but if you put my name in Amazon or YouTube, you'll get my lectures and my books.
Awesome. Dog, it's been a really insightful, really eye-opening conversation with you today, and I'm excited to have you on the show.
It's been great to be here, Ezekiel. Thanks for having me.